So I got a little problem today. I'm in a pair of footwear that I get judged for all the time. It's interesting when a Cowboy Church preacher here at Crossbrand walks up in tennis shoes on Sunday. So many people just give me such a hard time. And I got to be honest with you, I hate them, but my feet love them. So I need to start wearing, continue to wear them some. I especially like them because I stole them from one of my sons, the same thing that they used to do to me when they were kids. But that all aside goes right into what I needed to tell you today. I just need some folks that judge me for my footwear to show a little grace. I want to talk to you a little bit about grace. Grace is one of my favorite topics in Scripture. And one of my favorite scriptures that goes along with that is actually Paul talking to a group of Ephesians believers. And he just reminds them, hey guys, you know what? We are saved by grace. It is through faith. It is not of ourselves. It is God's gifts. And preachers are always defining grace as that unmerited favor, that unwarranted favor. In other words, it's not something that we deserve or something we've earned. It is just God reaching down from heaven and saying, hey, I love you. And the bottom line is, that is grace. But there was a pastor a few years ago, I think in North Carolina, had said a few things about grace. I think he was struggling with some areas in his life, and he even started a church that really focuses on the grace. But he said a few things about grace, and I think instead of defining grace, it would probably be better defined through description. And here's what he said. He said 7 things grace is. Grace says you don't have to be good enough because Jesus was perfect. All of us have our hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And although Jesus was tempted, tells us that in Hebrews, he never failed to it. Grace says you have not gone too far and can come back home. You see, even grace that saves us is the grace that forgives us after we're saved. We'll never be perfect. Number 3, grace says that you are not, I love this one, you are not who you are on your worst day. Truth is that we all look back and cringe at some of the mistakes and some of the bad choices we made, but that doesn't have to be who we are for the rest of our life, and grace does that. Grace also says you have power over sin. Truth of the matter is grace, again, saves us, but grace sustains us, man. Grace helps us on a day-to-day basis. Another thing about grace is grace says it's not too late to step into what God has for you. So many people become so frustrated. Again, it may be a choice that you did, or it may be a choice that someone else did to you, and you're just really struggling with that. But that's not the way grace works. Number 6, grace says that you're not what other people try to label you to be. I know sometimes we confuse false shame with true shame, false guilt with true guilt, but sometimes, guys, people just can be very, very mean. But grace doesn't see us that way, at least not the way they label us. And then finally, I love this one. You ready? Grace says you cannot out-sin the price that Jesus paid. On Calvary that day, about 2,000 years ago, there were 2 men hanging on the cross beside Jesus. Both of them deserved to be there according to the law. One of them continued to curse and mock Jesus, and the other one may have started out that way, but he realized, hey, you know what? Jesus is exactly who he says he is, and Jesus is my hope. And he asked for that mercy, and Jesus said, hey, buddy, in just a little bit, because of God's grace, he sent me to square you up with the penalty of sin that you've got hanging around your head. I can forgive that. Today, the bottom line, on the bottom line video, is that grace, although we can't understand it, goes way beyond human comprehension. Grace says from Jesus, I love you, I gave my life for you, and the bottom line is, if you call on him today, he'll save you.